Okay, typically when I play Battlefield, I prefer to play close quarters as a medic. However, I have spent quite a long time playing Battlefield, and I have gotten some rather long distance headshots for the console version of Battlefield. Numerous headshots over 1,000 meters with the M39B 12x scope and a bipod, which I have done videos on that exact rig previously. But as time has gone on, I've decided that the M39 has become my preferred sniper rifle whenever I play Recon. And there's essentially two ways to play Recon. There's the long range, you're kind of more about suppressing and marking the enemy team, and then there's the aggressive Recon where you put on a holographic scope or a red dot and kind of get far more close quarters into the fight. Now, as far as using a Recon kit properly, I use the MAV very liberally. Like, when in doubt, use the MAV. If it's long range, use the MAV. If it's close range, use the MAV. The MAV also acts as a tug sensor, so you can always set it down when you're about to come around a corner or go into a building, and if people are running around inside that building very quickly, then the MAV will actually pick them up like a tug sensor, even if you're not in the MAV black and white thermal screen. So the MAV is really helpful because essentially it's a flying tugs that also has a camera that can spot. And then that with the spawn beacon, if you use the spawn beacon tactically, you essentially want to drop it down everywhere, and whenever you get close to the MCOM or the objectives, you want to drop the spawn beacon down. And at long range, you want to keep the spawn beacon kind of down wherever, like the top of the mountain that you just hiked up, you put the spawn beacon up there, that way if you die, you don't have to reset. But yeah, it's really very difficult to find the snipers when you're looking out at the entire map, but if you use the MAV, it's very easy to isolate them, and then ultimately you can return fire. And it's really nice to have a semi-auto sniper rifle, because I am used to the bolt actions, but it's really nice just to be able to kind of spray ammo at their general direction and have it be very precise. Like, you can shoot this gun very quickly, and it's actually very accurate. This was actually my friend Lightning Bar who killed me. We were trying to get on the same team, but when he joined the lobby, he was on the opposite team, so we kind of have a little back and forth battle with each other over the course of this map. But he actually started off with the M98B, and by the end of this map, he was using the M39, because I was actually starting to kill him with it. So the nice thing about this gun is that it actually has the second fastest traveling bullet in the game, with the exception of the M98B. So it is doable to use it for long-range sniping, and it's also doable for aggressive recon. So for this aggressive recon stint, I got tired of getting sniped off the top of the mountain, so I spawned off a squad mate, and I'm not quite certain what's on the other side of this rock, and so rather than run around naked, I decided, okay, let me just launch the MAV, it'll take 5 or 10 seconds, rather be safe than sorry. And I was actually surprised to see a guy within 10 feet on the other side of the rock. So immediately I mark him up, and it kind of shows how, whether you're doing long-range stuff or close-range stuff, the MAV is very helpful for getting the drop on people, and you really need every advantage you can get when you're using a gun that holds 11 bullets and is not full auto, so you kind of need the advantage of kind of knowing what's going on ahead of time, so I do find that very helpful. Now when you're doing the aggressive recon thing, you can either go loud, which with this gun is very nice because your bullets travel very fast. Like, they definitely travel over 500 meters a second, so they just get there very quickly. And it's almost like shooting a laser beam if you're shooting a guy within 200 to 300 meters. Once you slap a suppressor on the gun, that will slow your bullet down drastically. So if you're engaging targets that you are relatively certain will be under 100 meters, at that point I would recommend keep the bipod, put on a holographic sight, and it's the only time I prefer the holographic over the red dot, because I actually like having that circle around the reticle to kind of help with my bullet drop. And yeah, I mean, being silenced is incredibly advantageous if you're actually trying to sneak up behind the enemy, or if you're on a roof shooting into a window. You really don't want them to look at you, so it's very helpful to be suppressed. Now when I enter these kind of situations where I'm being completely pinned down, I will still drop the spawn beacon, and notice that we're very close to the MCOM, so the rest of my squad can parachute in, and because I'm completely pinned down, I will use the MAV to my advantage. Now, one thing you can do with the MAV, I don't actually ever kill people with the MAV, but I do like slightly trolling them. So these guys right here, I want to make sure that my MAV goes in front of their scopes and annoys them so that they have to take their eyes off of my teammates and start looking at me. And as I continue to kind of pester these guys for a little while, you notice that they start shooting at me, and it's better for them to be shooting at the MAV than shooting at my teammates. And even if I'm not manually marking these guys, the MAV is picking them up on proximity scanner when they're moving around. So This is more footage of the gun slightly closer range, and I really like this gun at close range. I mean, you never need more than 3 bullets to kill a guy at any range, and typically at close range, whether you're suppressed or not, you don't need more than 2 bullets. So a lot of times I'll shoot a guy 3 times just on autopilot, but really the first 2 bullets end up ultimately killing them if they're hits and center of mass. Now, a lot of the Recon guys give Recon a bad name because they're not really using... I mean, honestly, when the Recon guys basically piss off the team, it's when you have half of your team being Recon guys up in some radar tower or up on the top of a mountain not really getting work done. So that is part of why aggressive Recon really does give the Recon guys a good name, because they're in the firefight and they're either on the front line or they're in the spawn basically giving it to the enemy. So you're either doing kind of sneaky reconnaissance in the background and just kind of gunning these guys down and distracting them, or you're ultimately on the front line and you're pushing the objectives. And when you're pushing the objectives on the front line, it's incredibly important to drop the spawn beacon everywhere. Like, whenever you spawn right in, just drop the spawn beacon, and worst case scenario, if you die immediately, you can at least parachute in. And that's really tactically advantageous to be able to parachute in, and most enemies when they're running around, they're not looking directly up at parachuting guys. It's just not on their list of concerns when tanks and helicopters and people are shooting at them. So a lot of times you can parachute in and no one will really notice you. And this is part of the benefit of being suppressed, although I did run out of bullets very quickly, so that it would be the one thing that I kind of missed from having the 417. The 417 is a semi-automatic sniper rifle that has an incredibly fast reload, and it holds twice as many bullets as the M39. However, I find that the M39 is a lot more accurate at longer ranges, and that the bullet velocity is so much faster on the M39 that I can get longer range shots with the M39 relatively easily. Whereas with the M417, I just feel like the bullet's too slow, and especially when the M417 is suppressed, that bullet is incredibly slow, and you really will notice a difference if you switch to the M39 with a suppressor. Like, you will notice that, man, these bullets really are moving very quickly. And I was actually surprised when I went online to check out the stats of all these sniper rifles, and did find that the M39 is the second fastest traveling bullet as far as the Recon guns are concerned. So, with the exception of the M98B, this is the gun that actually shoots very far in bullets that go very fast. And it's probably one of the least used guns that are actually being used right now in Battlefield. Like, most people are definitely using other things, and I don't see the M39 very frequently. But I do kind of feel like it is a slight trade secret when you use this gun, because ultimately you have something that's very precise, and it's good suppressed, and it's good loud. And while I don't show it in this video, later in the day when I was filming, I was literally on the carrier at Karg Island, and I was getting headshots at over 600, 700 meters. So once you get the hang of it, it is a very good gun, and something I do recommend.